All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. First of all, thank you for joining us this morning or whenever you may be watching the recording. So, we're going to be talking about 10 free and low cost lead generation strategies for real estate agents. And I think this is a good follow up from last week's trainings where I went over listings and, how to generate listing leads, how to lock in the listing, and then how to sell the listing. And some of the things that I'm going to go over today I did mention during that training. But again, these are tried and true lead generation strategies that work. And if you're not doing these, hearing it again and again and again, I think is really important. There was a an old mentor of mine, and obviously somebody that's much smarter than me. And one of the things that he always said is that, look, the wind blows on us all. The same wind blows on us all. The thing that is different is the set of the sail. So if you set your sales right and you've got at least two to three lead generation sources going on at any time, it's going to help you get to your goals. But if you're constantly going back and forth, maybe using one here, one there every once in a while, and you're not consistent, it's going to be very hard to scale your real estate business. And that's what this is all about. It's about scaling your real estate business and taking it to the quote unquote next level, right? So this is going to help you learn how to generate leads without breaking the bank. I think you guys can all be excited about that. There are going to be, one or two things in here where you might have to spend some money, but I'll give you tips on how to kind of reel that in so you're not breaking the bank. So let's go ahead and get started here. Our first one, circle prospecting. You've heard it time and time again. Guys, this is a tried and true way of generating really good, solid leads. And this is something that I did at the beginning of my real estate career. In fact, the very first thing I did, you may have heard me share this story before, is I just went door knocking into neighborhoods that I wanted to prospect. And it was a very awkward conversation. I was probably sweating and just really did not look confident at all because I wasn't going there with any other purpose other than trying to introduce myself and be like, hey, are you looking to buy or sell your home? Or do you know anybody who's looking to buy or sell a home in the next 3 to 6 months? Something like that does work. And for some people, that's the way they like to do it, and that's perfectly fine. For me, circle prospecting was the way of removing the awkwardness and actually providing some value to the person I was knocking on their door. And that's exactly what we want to do. Anytime we are trying to lead generate, how are we going to provide value to that person for them to want to have a conversation with you, for them to want to give you their contact information so that you can follow up with them? So with circle prospecting, it's very easy. So the first thing that you're going to do is you need to find what your niche is or your target market. So, or I'm sorry, target neighborhood. And this is all about farming, right? So I'll talk a little bit more about farming 3 or 4 slides in, but figure out what area you want to farm. Okay, in that area, you're going to find homes that are for sale. You're going to find homes that maybe are pending. You're going to find ones that sold recently. These do not have to be your listings or your sales. You can knock on doors and say, hey, I don't know if you realize, but just down the street, 123 Sesame Street just went on the market for $730,000. And I don't know if you realize this, but anytime that a new home comes on the property or a new one sells, it changes the dynamics in the neighborhood and increases or decreases the value of properties. Would you be interested in knowing what the value of your home is now? And so something like that is very easy. And again, you're not selling them anything. You are going there and providing a service for them. So that's why I love circle prospecting because I can do it anywhere, in any neighborhood, whether I have a listing or not. Now, if we have a listing within the brokerage in that area, great, do that. But don't think that you can't circle prospect an area where we don't have a listing. You can do it anywhere just like open houses, which I'll talk about. You can do an open house for anyone. So you're going to target specific neighborhoods. Again, think about what your niche is. Who do you want to build your business with? What type of neighborhoods? What type of homes? What type of clientele? And then narrow it down to specific neighborhoods and start circle prospecting. And we could do a whole training on circle prospecting itself. There are plenty of videos online. Of course, just Google it. I always, and Mark will also say this too, use ChatGPT if you're like, hey, I want to do circle prospecting. Type in ChatGPT, hey, I'm a real estate agent looking to circle prospect the Lakewood Ranch neighborhood of Country Club East. And I want to do circle prospecting based on a house that just got listed at so and so street. Create a script for me to to be able to provide a market analysis for residents in the area. It'll come up with a great script for you, and you can practice that script, and then you can go start knocking on doors and actually do that. You can also bring other tools with you. Maybe you're circle prospecting and a house just sold, and hey, it originally was listed at this price, or I'm sorry, it was originally sold for this price 2 years ago, and now it's sold for this price. It's a X% increase in value from that single home. Are you interested in knowing what the value of your home is now since you purchased it? Something like that. So you actually have something physical that you can give them. The house that just sold down the street has your information on that. Keep in mind, when you print out any of these listings through the MLS, you make sure that you have a header or footer on there that has your information on there. And that is an option. When you go to print any listing from the MLS, you can choose to have a header and footer, and it will input your contact information in there. So make sure you're doing that. So now you're actually leaving something with them. And don't forget, when it comes to printing out MLS sheets, you have two options. You have the MLS cross property view, which is one for us as realtors, because on the second page, it'll have the listing agent's contact information, the price history. So if it was reduced in price, it'll show you the original price and what it's currently priced at, and then any realtor remarks. You do not want to give that to any prospect. So you want to make sure that you're printing out the 360 customer view through MLS. And again, make sure you have a header or footer on there so it's got your contact information. So little takeaways like that are great. If you're circle prospecting from an open house, same thing. You can have a little print, hand that to them. I think that's great. The other thing that you can do is if you haven't downloaded the Preferred Settlement Agent One app, you can actually provide potential proceeds from a sale of a property. So let's just say you have a great conversation with somebody and you're like, yeah, really, I'm interested to see what the value of my home is now. Well, what if I sold it for this much? How much would I net? And that's something that you can do. So have that on hand with you just in case the conversation moves to, well, look, I think the value of my home is this. If that were the case and my mortgage is $300,000, how much would I net after closing? All right, so you can go through that conversation. And then, of course, just like I mentioned earlier, script it. So get on Chat GPT if you're not good at coming up with your own scripts, and just really start narrowing it down to a script that feels like you. I think that's the biggest thing, and that's why I always talk more about getting scripts from Chat GPT, because it'll start to learn your personality. So when you ask it to create a script, it's going to create one based on you versus you just going online and Google searching a script. That script may be perfectly fine, but it may be harder for you to actually speak it when you're knocking on doors versus one that you've created through ChatGPT that you've moderated or modified to really fit you. So I highly recommend that. And again, just practice it. The more you practice it, the more natural it's going to be, the more confidence you're going to have. And again, confidence is key when you're doing anything like circle prospecting. If they notice that, hey, you're a new agent, you're nervous, there's going to be a lot more hesitation to actually open up to you. So the more confident you can be, the better those conversations are going to go. Okay, so um, lead generation tip number one is circle prospect. And again, set this on your calendar. Make sure you're doing it a couple times a week. If you have nothing else going on, you should be doing that. All right, and then of course, open houses. So I really do think these are the top two. And these are the top two that I did at the beginning of my business because I really wasn't looking to spend a ton of money on paid leads. So open houses are great. You have to make sure that you're doing them properly. Most agents, when they're doing an open house, they'll make it active on the MLS, which does feed out into Zillow, Realtor, all those sites. but what else are you going to do to generate some interest and really get people in the door? And one of those things is making sure that you're going out to the neighborhood and letting them know about your open house. All right. And that's the thing with open houses. You want to do two things. One is obviously you want to generate some buyer leads, right? Because people are going to be coming in. They may or may not be represented. The ones who are not represented, that's your opportunity to say, hey, if this home isn't for you, I know a few others that are very similar, and I'd love to show those to you. And, sometimes I've done those where it was literally, hey, this open house ends at 2. Why don't you meet me back here at 2:30 and we'll go see those other homes? Because I've already kind of mapped out in the neighborhood or in the general area similar homes that might fit somebody's needs. Maybe my home on Robin Hood, all right, it backs up to Bay Vista. Maybe they don't like the road noise, but I know a very similar one that doesn't back up to a busy road. It backs up to a pond. And so I'm making that connection with them. I'm building rapport. And now I've got them coming back. And I'm not going to wait. I'm like, hey, come back at 2:30 when I'm done. Let's go see those homes. All right. So you're targeting buyers, but then you're also targeting sellers. And that's why door knocking around the neighborhood is so key, because you've got homeowners that you're inviting to come see your open house. But ultimately, really what you're trying to do is have them start, get those wheels turning in their mind to say, all right, they're listing it for this. This is what their home looks like. How much could I get for mine?
Oh,
All right. And then if you build that rapport with them when they come, if you haven't done this already, you can say, hey, let me get a CMA for you so you can have an idea of what the value of your home is now. Whether you're looking to sell or maybe you want to refinance, to add on to the house or do whatever renovations that you've been looking for, you'll know how much equity that you've built into the home. Okay, so definitely you want to focus not just on buyers, you want to focus on sellers too, and that's one way to get sellers through the door and build a relationship. Of course, the personal invitations, like I said, um, that's key. Whether you're sending out mailers or door knocking, I recommend doing both. So send out a mailer, and if you use Prospects Plus, that's who I use. That's a direct mailing company. They're actually local here in Sarasota. They're great. They will do anytime you have a home that you just listed for like 20 cents for jumbo postcards. They will mail out 100 of those to the neighborhood. And so for a little over $200, I think it's like 230 with tax. You've got 100 mailers going out. That's huge. And then you go and knock on doors. All right. And then that way you got things taken care of. So definitely do that. Digital sign-ins. You can create a QR code for your website where you have the what will my house sell for, or um, uh, whatever your page is named, where somebody can go on to get a market value of their home. So on any website, if you click the little three buttons at the top right of the screen, drop down, or you can right click on your mouse, you can generate a QR code. Use that QR code. Maybe you have that sitting on, around the house where somebody can scan it, goes to the website, they input their information. You now have their contact and you can follow up with them about a value of their property. And then, of course, follow up. And this is something that people really fail at. So you've got people coming in, they're signing in the sign-in sheet, or they're using the QR code and they're inputting their information. Well, what do you do with that? You've got to follow up with them. Thank them for coming to your open house. Ask them what they liked most about it. And what you don't want to do is like, hey, I'm so happy you came to our open house. What did you think about it? Did you, are you interested in buying it? Are you going to send in an offer? Don't do that. Really be like, hey, what did you like most about it? Try and keep the conversation flowing so that it's not just a, closed question. It's kind of an open-ended question to really get them to respond so you can continue that conversation going forward. It does a number of things. One, obviously, again, you're building the relationship. You're finding out whether that home was for them or not, and maybe how you can move that conversation to other homes that might fit their needs. Or on the other end, if it is your listing, it's helpful to get some feedback as far as what they thought about the house, what they liked about that, what they liked about it, what they didn't like, so that you can tell your seller, hey, here's some of the feedback from the open house, and here's where I recommend what I recommend we do with that. Okay, so there's a lot of benefits to having open houses, but it's huge and it's pretty much free unless you're going to bring cookies and drinks or whatever, and that's completely up to you. I typically don't do that. One, because I'm just not that big of a planner. If I do my door knocking and send out the postcards, like that's pretty good. I want people to come in. I want them to look at the house, not just come for the food. But sometimes, depending on the time of day and just the type of home, maybe you do something a little bit more where you are providing music, you're providing some type of entertainment, you're providing food, drinks. For like your higher end homes, you definitely want to do that because that's going to help drive a lot of people in. But there's no reason you can't do that for homes that aren't such high value properties. Anything you can do to generate people coming into the door, to generate conversations, if it works for you, do it. All right. But open houses are huge. Next is farming. So this is one of the things where, yes, it's going to cost you some money to do if you're going to send out mailers. Um, but it's one of those things. Again, this is why I put these first three at the top because these are like the top three that are probably going to generate some of the most value for you, the most return on your investment, and give you the quickest return on that investment. Okay, so again, if we're looking at being budget friendly, you've got to choose a target area. Okay, so that could be one neighborhood or one general area, but you don't want to do a whole zip code. All right, if you do a whole zip code, you've got all different types of neighborhoods in there. So it's best when you're doing target or mailers to really focus on one specific area where it's very similar because that message is going to be crafted for that neighborhood. And obviously, if you focus just on a neighborhood versus a zip code, it's going to save you quite a bit. So instead of, a couple $1,000s in mailers, you've got a couple $100s in mailers. Now, I do personally recommend if you're going to do mailers, jumbo postcards, or you can do newsletters. And again, Prospects Plus, they have a great newsletter that you can modify a few of the pages, but it's one of those ones that people will leave out for a while because it has a recipe in there. It's got some tips for, around the house, whether it's outdoor landscaping, what paint colors are really popular now. So it's an up-to-date newsletter that people actually want to hold on to. And of course, it's got all your contact information in there. Those are going to be a little bit more expensive. Those are typically, I think, around $1.50 or so to send out. But again, just a great tool that is actually going to capture somebody's attention. The smaller postcards, I feel like those don't really do it anymore. The jumbo ones are the way to go, plus including a QR code is going to be a nice way to get somebody kind of interact with it. Okay. But it's all about consistency. So you
It's
can't just send out one
he's in
and
like
be like,
Grant.
okay, I sent out my mailer, I'm good to go. You have to be consistent with this approach. So
Hey Matt,
knowing
just so
that
you
you,
know, hey Matt, just so you know, you had some connectivity stuff there. You're back now, but
oh, okay.
yep,
How long did it go for?
just a couple seconds.
Okay, cool. Um, so it's all about consistency. And knowing that it's about consistency also means you have to know your budget. Okay. So I always say, look out 6 months. All right. If you have to spend $300 to $500 each month for this neighborhood or this area that you're targeting, do you have that in your budget? And not only do you have it in your budget, but if you didn't get any return on it, are you okay? All right. If you're going to be struggling to pay your bills or to feed yourselves because you're spending the $300 to $500 a month on these mailers, don't do it. There are plenty of other free options for you. But it's kind of like I always say this, it's like your Vegas money. If you go to Vegas, you're going to bring, $1,000. And if you lose that $1,000, hey, you're good, right? If you gain some money from that, great, even better. But you're going into it that, hey, here's $1,000. If I never see anything from it, is what it is. That's kind of how I look at mailers. Okay, so make sure that you're budgeting for at least 6 months and that you are sending out something every single month. All right. And any of the leads that you get from that, you're putting them into your CRM so that you can continue to have those touch points. And I'll talk more about that towards the end of this, of how many touch points you need to really to typically get somebody to actually make a purchase or set an appointment to talk with you. All right. And then as far as your value driven content, it could be you have market updates on there. It could be information about a property that just sold or a property that just listed. Again, provide some value. But you have to make sure that if you are doing where it's, hey, this just listed or this just sold, the message should be something like, hey, when a property sells, it really changes the dynamics and the values of the homes in the neighborhood. I'd love for you to get a free home evaluation and see how much equity you've built into your home. Click the QR code or scan the QR code for more information. And then it goes to landing page. And again, that landing page can be your KV Core or EXP website where it has the landing page for home values, or maybe you've created a separate one. Whatever it is, just make sure you have a way for them to actually give you your information, not just, hey, give me a call or shoot me a text message. A lot of people will scan the QR codes, but if you say, hey, just shoot me a text message, they don't do it. Okay, so QR codes are on there. And again, if you have any questions as far as how to do a QR code, let us know. Again, pretty much every single web page you can create a QR code for. And very simple. And then you just put it on a Word document or you put it in one of these mailers. Okay, so farming is great. Just make sure that you are comfortable with how much you're going to spend over the next 6 months. And obviously, if you're seeing results, continue that. Now, maybe after 3 months, if you're not seeing any results, maybe change the method. So maybe you started off with postcards. Now you change it to the newsletter. Okay. Or maybe, you're still doing the postcards, but a different message on there. Especially if, around football season, if the, like I did one for the Super Bowl and it was, hey, here's where you can watch the Super Bowl. So providing value, it's got my information on it, but it's got several local areas or restaurants and bars that are going to be showing the Super Bowl for free. So little things like that can go a long way. Okay. Obviously, we can't talk about lead generation without talking about social media. I will tell you this. I am I can't think in the past, let's see, how long have I been doing this now? Almost 10 years, 8 years, that I've gotten an actual sale because of social media. All right. Some people are influencers and they have a big reach and, they've had somebody that they didn't know reach out to them on social media to help them purchase or sell a home. That's great. The big thing here is, again, it's consistency. It's showing people that you are an expert, that you are a full-time real estate agent. And that's why I continually do social media. Because if somebody goes on and Googles my name, I want to make sure that I've got content out there so that they see that I am consistent, I'm posting relevant information, and I'm posting it enough that they look back and it's not, well, you posted something a year ago or you posted something 6 months ago. No, they see stuff on a weekly basis that I'm posting. And what can that be? Multiple things, right? You can post about local restaurants, you can do home tours. There's so many different avenues. And don't worry so much about the quality of the video. Now, I say that with a little asterisk. So obviously, you want good quality videos. You want people to be able to see. You don't want it to be all blurry or you're moving around too much. But just do it. So many people wait until they can edit it so well that it just looks like this cinematic video, and that's great. But look, that's not all of us. And if you can just have a really informal but informative 15 to 20-second video that captures somebody's attention, again, it's just staying on top of mind and it's showing that you are an expert in the area and you are a full-time real estate agent. Some of the other tips on top of consistent posting is joining community groups. Okay, so there are a lot of Facebook groups in there. There's Nextdoor groups, and the key with those is not to go there with just a pitch about your real estate services. It's for you to go and provide value. So you're going in there and you're providing, maybe you wrote a article on landscaping for Florida, maybe specific to the Sarasota area. Or, hey, here are the best paint colors for your front door to increase curb appeal. So you're providing value, and people are going to be reading those articles, and then they're going to see your contact information. But it's not you just hammering them with, hey, I'm a real estate agent. They're probably going to kick you out of the group for that. All right. So make sure that you are engaging in a way that, again, provides value. Lead generation, if you want to really do well at this, it's always thinking about how can I provide value to this audience. All right, then again, expert advice. So if there are any real estate topics that come up, maybe interest rates go up, interest rates go down, interest rates don't know where they're going. You're posting that kind of information just to keep people in the know. And again, you're just positioning yourself as a knowledgeable resource. And then on occasion, you can make some strategic offers. It's, hey, if you're interested in me coming out and giving you some tips on how to increase your curb appeal, feel free to shoot me a message. Or, hey, guys, I noticed that this house sold in the neighborhood. So, like, if you're on Nextdoor, it's specific to the neighborhood or the general area. It's like, would love to do a market analysis, see how much equity you have in your home now. Okay. Engaging on any kind of social media sites are a great way to, again, just build rapport, build your sphere of influence to where people are going to be coming to you when they have questions on real estate. Okay, so speaking of sphere of influence, of course, this is one of the big ones as well, which when you're brand new to real estate, this is a no-brainer, right? We talk about it all the time. Make sure you're telling everybody you know about what you're doing and asking them to refer people to you. So it's not only about who you know, it's about who they know as well. So obviously your friends and family, make sure they understand what you're doing, where you're doing it, who your target market is, so that when something comes up, they can refer people to you. Don't forget to get their contact information. And this is where I think a lot of agents fail is they're like, oh yeah, I told my friends and family, I sent them text messages and all that. And then I ask, well, are they in your CRM? They're like, well, no, why would I do that? Why wouldn't you? All right, again, it's all about staying on top of mind. Yes, you sent them that message, but how many other friends and family do they have that are realtors as well? All right. Doesn't necessarily mean just because you told them that they are going to use you or refer you. You've got to be the one that they automatically think about when the topic of real estate comes up. And the best way to do that is to make sure that they're in your CRM and you're sending out monthly newsletters at least once a month. I always do two touch points, so a monthly newsletter and then just like a fun meme, real estate related meme just to get a laugh or two. So that's huge. Making sure you're putting them in the CRM. Past coworkers. You went into real estate full time. Well, what did you do beforehand? Make sure you're staying in contact with those people, not only because they might be buying and selling in the future or they know somebody, but is there a strategic partnership with those people? They already know you and like you. So if you say, hey, why don't we do something where we're networking together? I come over to the office and I give free tips on, again, I'm just going to go back to curb appeal because that's a big one. And so you present to the team or whoever is in the office just some really good tips on increasing curb appeal to increase the value of your home. And again, that's how you make connections. Community groups. So, we talk about faith organizations, whatever your faith is, but make sure if you're going to church to, lead generate, um, first of all, make sure you're actually going there for the right reasons, right? Don't go there just to get leads. You need to make sure that you're going there to build community and that that is a place where you really want to be and you're there for the right reasons. And if you get a lead or you build connections from that, great, but don't just go there for the sole purpose of generating leads. Find something else that you actually enjoy doing and you can connect with people on a different level versus just faking it. Okay. So I always say, look, if you're into running, there's plenty of run groups around here. Why don't you just join one of the local run companies, and go out on the, Wednesday night, they go for a run and you're doing that and you're building relationships. That's one way of doing it. And then, of course, like I said, regular updates. So when you're getting or you're building the relationships, make sure you are collecting contact information. And one of the best ways of doing that, I believe, is utilizing your phone with a QR code that they can scan. So a lot of times you're talking to somebody and you're like, oh, try and find a way of getting them to send you something. Like you're talking about, their favorite music. Well, what's your favorite song? Oh, can you, when you get onto your app, can you actually send that to me? Here, let me give you my number so you can text me. All right. And by them texting you, you're getting their contact information as well. But if you take it a step further, you can, like we have the dot cards, right? So it's the cards where you can just tap somebody's phone and transfer your contact information over, and then they can transfer their information over to you. So now you're getting their phone number, their email address, whatever they already have loaded into their phone, you're getting all that contact information. So I always have the dot card app on my phone on the home screen so I can click it real quick. But I also have the card that has the QR code where they can just scan it. And I make sure that I'm watching them as they do it and they download my contact information. And then I say, well, go ahead and click on the exchange contact information. So they click on exchange, they input their information, sends to me, and now I've actually got their a true lead that I can follow up with. Okay. So if you're doing all this, you're talking to people and you're making connections and you don't do the next step where you're collecting their contact information, what happens? You forget about them, they forget about you, and maybe you see them next month on the next run club, but you've wasted so much time. So don't do that. Get in the habit of getting contact information. And again, try and provide value if it's a little awkward for you. So based on the conversation that you have with this person, hey, let me send you this article that, I read that I think you would like based on our conversation, something like that. And just, again, it's kind of like the circle prospecting, right? Yeah, you can door knock and it could be kind of awkward, or you can circle prospect where you're providing value. Same thing with sphere of influence. You can have general conversations and then have an awkward conversation of being like, hey, can I get your contact information? Like, why? All right. Go with a purpose, go with value. Okay. You're going to hear me say that again and again and again. You've got to provide value for people who you don't really know to give you their contact information because we're bombarded with stuff all the time. All right. So when you do get their contact information, treat it like gold. All right. Don't overdo it. Make sure that, again, when you're sending them something, you're providing value. If you don't, they're going to, treat your emails as spam. They're going to probably take you off their phone. They're just going to mark you as spam on the phone, and you're not going to get anything. All right. And now let's say you have a listing. All right. And Mark hit on this with the last training that he did on the luxury listings, which it goes to luxury listings, it goes to any listings, right? So before your listing, you should have teaser posts. Now, you do have to be careful about doing like a coming soon post. Anytime you do a coming soon post or a teaser and the home is easily identifiable, it has to go into the MLS within 24 hours. Those are the MLS rules. Now, if you're just doing a teaser where, it's the inside of the house and it's coming soon and nobody could tell where that house is, what neighborhood it's in, or anything, you're okay. All right. The big thing is making sure that there's nothing that's going to identify where that house is. Okay. So you do the before listing ones. You could even do, I've seen this where somebody's holding their sign right at the front door. So again, there's nothing that's identifying the house, but it's you holding your sign, and it's kind of like a, hey, coming soon. And of course, when it's just listed, you're sending out postcards, you're door knocking. So again, circle prospecting, holding an open house, any of that stuff to get people in so you can create contacts and generate leads from it. Obviously, during the listing, again, same thing, door knocking, invite to open houses. And then after the closing, having the just sold mailers sent out. If you really want to get creative, so prior to closing, maybe you have a gathering of the neighbors to wish the sellers well on their next move. All right, so you're doing an event. Now, this is going to cost a little bit of money because you're going to have some hors d'oeuvres out there, maybe some drinks, but it's a great way to get everybody together and connect. All right, so that would be before the closing, and you're doing that for the seller. And why wouldn't you do the same thing with the buyer? All right. So, hey, welcome to the neighborhood. Here's your new neighbor, and you're inviting all the neighbors over. Of course, you have to get their permission, and they have to want to do it. They may tell you no, that's just not us, and that's fine. But at least give the option and say, hey, I'm going to do this for you guys because I want to make sure that you have a great experience. And always think about that too, guys. It's not just about buying and selling homes, right? It's about creating an experience for people. If you can create an experience for somebody and they really like you, they are going to use you in the future. Right? You've got to build those relationships. I've had so many clients come back to me year after year. Some of them could have been 3 years that went by. And because I've stayed in contact with them, I've provided some value and they genuinely like me, they use me in the future. All right. So they don't forget about you as long as you stay on top of mind. You have to create those touches. Okay. So anytime you have a listing, don't just do what the average agent does because you're not average. The average agent, they get the photos done, they put it on the MLS, they put a sign in the yard, and they sit back and they're like, all right, come on, agents, go show my home. And by the way, I've got a super lockbox on there, so I don't even have to go there. Like just go and let's get it sold. And they're just hoping that the right person comes through and it sells quickly. But you can do a much better job of selling the home quickly and generating additional leads if you just take a few extra steps. And again, as I've said all the time, if you treat this like a business, it'll pay you like a business. If you treat it like a hobby, that's exactly what you're going to have. And people who treat it like a hobby, typically within 2 years, they're back to a regular 9 to 5. Okay, so make sure you're always thinking about how can I do this better? How can I increase my skills? What new skills can I learn? And sometimes it may be uncomfortable, doing things like the get-togethers at in the seller's house or the new buyer's home. It could be awkward for you if you're just a kind of an introverted person, but you got to get out of that. All right, we're in the people business. All right, we're not just in the home business, we are in the people business. We work with people. We have to understand that and make sure that we're doing the right things to connect, to be able to build our business. All right, so treat it like a business, it will pay you like one. All right, and then some strategic door knocking. So of course there's and circle prospecting is strategic, but you want to make sure that you are doing this because cold calling, while it does work, and I don't have cold calling up here, it is definitely a lead generation strategy. Uh, I think the face-to-face interactions lead to a higher return on investment, a quicker return on investment than just the phone calls. Okay, so you've got to figure out what's going to work out best for you. And all the tools or the strategies for circle prospecting and then the strategic door knocking can also be used on cold calls. Okay, so you're calling the neighborhood and saying, hey, the house down the street sold for X amount. It increased over the last 2 years by X percentage. would love to give you a new valuation of your home if you're interested, something like that. So you can do that on a cold call, but a face-to-face interaction, it's much harder for somebody to slam the door in your face versus hanging up on you on a phone because you're just cold calling them, right? So by all means, do cold calling. It works. But I believe the quicker return is actually going out face to face, building the relationship. Okay. Again, delivering value. So maybe you're going down, and this may be a neighborhood that's newer. Maybe a home hasn't sold for over 6 months, right? So you're not going to use that past sale of 6 months ago because that doesn't really relate to what's currently happening in the market. But you can start bringing market updates. What's going on in the area? The Realtor Association of Sarasota Manatee just released their February numbers for Manatee County and Sarasota County. So maybe utilize something like that. Again, go on ChatGPT, upload those two images. Hey, here's what's going on in the Sarasota market. Here's what's going on in Manatee County. Create a script for door knocking for me to share some information about the general area. And you can put it by zip code too. Maybe you ask ChatGPT to create a printout for you. It'll do it. So you have a script, and then it creates a printout based on the script that you can actually hand somebody or leave at the door. Hey, of course, we talked about open houses, so inviting them to open houses or any local community events. If you know that there is I don't know, maybe there's a garage sale going on, and you're just inviting everybody to the garage sale, whatever it may be. Any local community events, something at Nathan Benderson Park that you're a part of, invite them to that. All right, and then of course use conversational scripts. Uh, there are plenty of scripts online. Again, use Chat GPT. Right? It is there, it is free, and it is absolutely amazing. And there's other AI systems. So if you have another one that you use, just utilize them and make sure you're asking the right questions. So what I like to do is I ask it somewhat of a more general question, or ask it to do something kind of a broad view of it, and then I ask it to start breaking it down because I might utilize those different scripts or those different responses based on what I'm trying to accomplish. Okay. And then I always break it down into scripts for Instagram or social media. Okay. So again, everything you do, you can start breaking it down, and say, hey, based on the prompt you just did, create 3 social media posts that I can share over the next week. All right. Now you've got that content. ChatGPT is getting to the point now where it says, would you like me to create a Canva template based on these posts that I created? Sure, go and do it. And it'll create a Canva template that you can utilize for your videos. So, I mean, just an amazing tool and resource to use. If you're not using it, you're really missing out. It's going to save you a ton of time and effort. So do it, because time is valuable and it's a limited commodity. We all have a finite time here on Earth, right? So let's make the most of it. Utilize AI because it's there and it's not going anywhere. It's only getting better. All right, some unconventional lead sources. And I say unconventional, it's really not unconventional. People go to expired listings and FSBOs all the time, right? But you need to do something a little different. So with expired listings, they get hounded by phone calls all the time. So cold calls. Every single big box broker is having their newbies call all the expired listings the day they go expired. I've had clients where I've had the chance where I forgot to extend the listing in MLS and it goes expired, right? And I've got my client calling me and goes, hey, I'm getting all these calls from real estate agents. What's going on? And I'm like, oh, I forgot to update the MLS listing. So let me go and do that. But yeah, they're just going to get inundated with so many realtors trying to find out, hey, what went wrong with your listing? Are you looking to relist? Can I come and do a listing presentation for you? And that's fine, but what can you do a little bit different? And so if you are going to do cold calling with expireds, the big thing is saying, hey, I'm not here to get your listing. I know it expired, probably, maybe a little bit frustrated with your agent, but I'm just curious. So I know what's going on in the market. Why do you think your home didn't sell? And now you're getting them to open up about why they think their home didn't sell. And then maybe you provide some value as far as what you see from the listing and maybe from the market perspective of what could have gone wrong. And then at the end, you've built the rapport. And even though at the beginning you said, yeah, I'm not trying to get your listing, then you say, hey, John, we really connected really well here. Would you mind if I pop by just to meet you and maybe see if there's something that I can do to help you sell your home now? And then that way you've built the rapport first before setting it up to be like, hey, I'm just here calling to try and get your listing because I know it expired. All right. Again, add value every single time. Um, a lot of times it's all about how the property was marketed, right? And you can tell when a property was marketed with photos from somebody's cell phone. See it all the time. Things like that make a huge difference. And then it's what other things are you going to do to promote that listing? And a lot of times, what we'll find when we call expired listings is they're like, yeah, my agent really didn't do much. I rarely heard from them. They didn't do any open houses. And that's where you can kind of set things up different. Be like, well, look, here's what I do for my sellers. Not only do we do open houses, and keep in mind, less than 1% of homes sell from an open house, but from a seller's perspective, it's like what every agent should be doing. So do it. Again, it generates leads for you, shows the seller that you're actually doing something to market the property. And potentially you could find a buyer. I've had two homes that actually sold from open houses. So, my percentage is maybe a little bit higher. Um, but when you're doing that, also show that, hey, not only do we open houses, but every week I'm going to send you a market update. So you're going to know, how many agents have shown your home, how many agents have sent your listing to their clients. So if you don't know this, through the MLS, you can do a reverse prospecting search, and it'll actually show you every single agent who has had your listing sent to one of their clients. And there's a unique code that they can actually go into MLS and say, okay, this auto search was sent out to somebody. Who is this person that it was sent to? And they'll know exactly who that lead is. So you can go on there. If the that client favorited your property, you'll see a little heart. So you can say, hey, they went on and they actually marked my listing as one of their favorites. Have you had a chance to talk to them about it? Most agents, they have a bunch of these searches set up for clients and they don't even realize what's being sent out or who's liking, some of the listings that you're sending them or favoriting them. And so they get missed. So it's your opportunity to show, hey, here's how I do things differently. I make sure that every week I'm doing reverse prospecting. I'm giving you an update. So you're going to know exactly what's going on, not only with your property, but with the market in general. And those are the things that get people to be like, okay, this is somebody who, again, is a professional. They're treating it like a business, and I'm going to get more value out of this person versus the agent that I just had that couldn't sell my property. Okay. And of course, maybe price needs to be reduced too, right? Same thing with for sale by owners. Now, with for sale by owners, one of the things that I like to do, you can do kind of the same thing with expired listings. Like, hey, I know it's been on the market for about 100 days. Why do you think it hasn't sold yet? So you're not saying, hey, I want to list your property. I just want to get some information, just kind of seeing how the market is on your end as a for sale by owner. Why do you think your home isn't selling? They're going to tell you all the things that they think why it's not selling. And now you're going to provide some value and share your thoughts on it. And then maybe you say, hey, you know what? Let me just come by and check out your house. I run into buyers all the time that are looking for a similar property. So at least I'll have an idea of what it looks like. Now you're getting in there, you're meeting them, you're building rapport. At some point in there, this is what I like to do, because for sale by owners, they can be pretty tough. Some of them are pretty easy. They're like, yeah, look, I've been doing this thing for 100 days. I'm tired of hosting open houses. I'm tired of, tire kickers. Like, I want to just hand it off to you. That happens sometimes, but a lot of times they think they can do it on their own. So my approach is a little bit different. I say, look, say Bill, look, I know you've been selling this on your own, and I applaud you. I think that's great, and you might be able to do that. but I'd like to challenge you. Here's my challenge. You allow me to list your property. I'll put it on, uh, do any marketing on my end, putting on the MLS. And if through my efforts, I find you a buyer, we agree to X amount of commission to sell your property. And on the flip side, if through your marketing efforts, you find a buyer that didn't come from anything that I did, then we shake hands and we part ways. Is that something you'd be interested in doing? And 9 times out of 10, I was able to get the listing because of that. And at times, what you'll typically see is if it's not right at the beginning, after you've done the photos and you're showing them all the stuff that you're going to do to promote their listing, sometimes they'd say, you know what, look, just do the listing. Like I'm done. I see all the stuff you're doing. I'm not doing that. So let's forget about the challenge. You can just take the listing. All right. That might happen at the beginning, or it may happen, a month, 2 months down when they're actually seeing what you're doing to market their property. And again, they just get tired of trying to do things on their own and they realize it's not going anywhere. So for sale by owners can be great. Definitely recommend doing that. And I like the challenge strategy over just, trying to be like, hey, how's it going? Do you want to use a real estate agent now? Real estate agents sell homes faster than for sale by owners. And look, again, that stuff works. But maybe just a different approach because that's how most agents are approaching these expired and FSBO listings. Okay. And then B2B network, so business to business. There are local groups that you can join, like BNI, that are referral exchange groups. Now, the only issues with those is one, they cost money. Okay, so again, we're talking about free and low cost, and they're not that expensive. But again, it's money out of your pocket. They only allow one business per group, right? So if there's a realtor that's already in there, you're not going to get accepted into the group. So, and usually in most of those groups, they already have a realtor in there. That's one of the top 10 businesses that are all in all of these business referral groups. So if you can't find one of those, what's the next step? Build your own, right? You have lenders you work with, you have title companies you work with, you have a local coffee shop that you really enjoy, you have a mechanic that you really like. I mean, just start bringing all these people together and build your own referral network. Now, that could be, where you do monthly meetings at a coffee shop, or it's just something online where you guys are sharing ideas to help build each other's businesses and provide referrals. Okay, so anything you can do to build those relationships and get referrals. And just remember, if you're doing this, be sure you're a giver. All right, a lot of times people start these business to business networking groups and they're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get all these people together and they're going to send me leads. Well, don't forget to send them leads. All right. If you really want to keep this thing going and growing, you've got to provide as well as receive, right? So make sure you're doing that. You could have different events that you pull together where you're inviting customers and clients and for all of the referral partners and you're splitting expenses. So that's a way of getting in front of their customers and their clients and then them getting in front of yours and being able to do it at a lower cost than just you doing one big event and spending all the money. All right. So it's a mutual benefit with doing something like that. All right. So I'm going to wind it down here. It's right about the hour mark, so we're good. So again, the big thing is staying on top of mind, right? And here's the thing. When you have buyers and sellers, now if your sellers moved out of town, doesn't mean you can't do a pop buy. It would just be a remote pop buy. You would actually send them a gift or mail them a gift. But I do like to do pop buys. So my clients who bought locally, or my clients who sold locally and then bought another property locally, I'll drive by every once in a while and I'll provide a gift. It could just be like you see in the picture. It could be some products that you really like. I always like to go to not Bed Bath and Beyond, Bath and Body Works, and just get some different fragrances, some candles, things like that. It doesn't have to be expensive. You literally can get like a $8 candle. A lot of times they have candles on sale. by all means, get them. Especially around the holidays. They always have like their holiday candles and their holiday fragrances. Well, when they go on sale, buy a bunch of them, keep them somewhere, and then during the holidays, you're now driving by the clients who you've sold properties to, and you're saying, "Hey, I was just thinking about you, wanted to drop this off." And it's got a card in there with your information. Again, it's staying on top of mind, and that is a touch point. So you should have at least 12 touch points per year. Okay. So each month you should be doing something. So again, for me, it's every month my contacts are getting a newsletter. They're also getting another email during the month. Again, something kind of funny, real estate related. But then I'll do other things like this where it's a little more personal because obviously I've got maybe 3,000 people in my CRM. Well, those are people at some point I came into contact with. I don't know where they live, but my clients, the ones who have actually I've closed deals with, I am going to stop by their house and I'm going to drop something off for them. Okay. Top agents' business comes from past clients. So 80% of top agents, that's where their business comes from. It's from referrals, not from generating new clients. So keep in mind, a lot of these lead generation strategies might start to fade out over time as you build your business. But at the beginning, if you're struggling, if you are finding you waking up in the morning and you don't have anything on your calendar, these are the things that you should be doing. All right. But now, once you get to the point where you've built a strong business, maybe you narrow it down to only a few things and then you outsource some of the others. Like with open houses, a lot of times I outsource those, not because I don't like doing them, but because I've got a business that I'm happy with and I'm trying to help promote other agents. So I'm happy to kind of pass those off to give an agent who needs to do open houses and then generate some additional leads that opportunity. Okay. But you're only going to get to that point where your business is based off referrals if you're doing these touch points and you're staying consistent with it and you provide value to your clients. All right. And client events. So with most client events, if you do them well, you can get up to about a 5 time return on investment. Now, when I say return on investment, doesn't mean that you're going to have the event and then tomorrow you have 5 times the money that you spent. No, it's building those relationships. And over time, you're going to start seeing that because you did that event, that person came back to you. And now you spent $1,000 on that event, but you just had a closing with them and your commission was 15,000. Huge return on that investment, right? So again, treat it like a business, it'll pay you like one. And treating it like a business does mean spending some money. So yes, there are plenty of free options for you to generate leads, but don't forget and don't be scared to spend some money to build your business. All right. Very few businesses can be built strictly without any cost up front. Okay. Just be strategic about how you do it and be mindful that any strategy that you choose, you need to do it consistently enough. And I always say plan for 6 months. Right. And after 6 months, you've gotten no leads out of that. You really have to go back and refine that strategy or choose a different strategy. But each month, you should be looking at, how many phone calls did you get? How many clicks on a link did you get? And if you're not getting them, all right, what do I need to do to change this month? Don't just stop, but what do I need to do to change to be able to get more clicks or to get more phone calls? All right, so always be thinking about that. Oh, and with the pop buys, always make sure there's a handwritten note there. Again, this is going to be for the clients who you've done business with, so you can do it. All right, it's not going to take that much time, and it could be, every month if you have a big business, right? Maybe you're doing 5 a month, and that's fine. So by the end of the year, you've got 60 people that you've done these pop buys with. 5 a month is nothing. You can do 5 a week easily if you have that many clients. So just think about that and just find ways that you can do it at a lower cost. And again, holidays are great because you get stuff on discount, or you just find fragrances that maybe are, they're just not doing anymore. They're discontinuing. So you get a bunch of that stuff on sale. Just remember to take off the sale price. It's got a sticker on the bottom there. All right. So the final takeaway. Lead generation doesn't have to be expensive, it just has to be consistent. All right. Now, one of the questions I was like, well, how long will it take? Again, I recommend just doing something consistently for 6 months and you should see results. But I can't tell you how long it's going to take. That's going to be up to you, the message that you're sending, the market that you're sending it to, and the consistency of your touch points. All right. But with consistent effort over time and over enough time, you're going to start seeing results. And make sure that you are consistently modifying your message if you're not seeing results quick enough. Okay. So, about every month, every 2 months, you should be refining your message if you're not really getting the response you're looking for. Okay. Start with 2 to 3 of these strategies, commit to them weekly, and track your results. Now, I say start with 2 to 3 of these strategies. If you're already doing 2 to 3 of these strategies consistently, what can you add to it? All right. What other skill can you add to your lead generation strategy to get you to that next level? Okay. Don't stop doing the 2 to 3 things you're already doing, just add to it. Okay. The agents who win listings are the ones who consistently stay in front of their market. Now, I don't want to sway anybody away from working with buyers. I think right now working with buyers are great because, man, you can negotiate the hell out of a property, right? But if you can get more listings, you are going to get in front of a lot more people. You're going to get in front of sellers. You're going to get in front of buyers because you're going to be strategic about how you market that listing. Okay, so getting listings puts you on a whole nother map. So make sure that you're really trying to generate as many listing leads as possible. And again, going back to open houses, that's a great way to do that if you don't have the money to spend on a lot of marketing, or you do your circle prospecting for properties that just sold, looking for buyers, or I'm sorry, looking for sellers. So that is one way to generate your listing leads. And then once you can lock in a listing, you just promote the heck out of it to everyone. So you're getting buyer and seller leads. So that was it, guys. I hope that helped. Again, it's not rocket science. A lot of this stuff you've probably heard before, but how many of you are actually doing it? And how many of you are doing it in a way that truly provides value, that creates lasting connections that you can consistently follow up with so that even if they don't do business with you within, 3 months of meeting them, maybe 3 years down the road, you get a phone call. Again, I say this was recent. I had clients who I sold them a condo and I've kept them in my newsletter. They're also in the CRM. On their birthday, they always get a happy birthday message. Well, this client responded back to that birthday message. He goes, "Hey, Matt, it's always great to hear from you. Thank you for the birthday wishes. We're actually looking at selling the condo now. Can you give me a call?" So I called, got the property listed. And it's because I stayed in contact with them. They have plenty of other agents that they know that they could have reached out to, but I'm the one that stayed consistent with them. So that's that, guys. If there are any questions, I know Mark is there and he can chime in, or there is a little chat box. So feel free to type it in the chat box or unmute yourself.
Yeah, Matt, just
And Mark, any comments on your end?
well, just before I ask, unrelated. So I saw Inman News. If you guys don't get that, you might want to. It's pretty expensive though. So basically, so you talked a little bit about the Clear Cooperation Act, or the rule, without saying it necessarily, but
Yeah.
it's basically NAR says as soon as you advertise something, it has to be in MLS within 24 hours, right? So if you've noticed Compass, this Redkin guy, this character, the last few days he's been all about, basically telling NAR to go F themselves, and Compass is, they've got this vast network and they're going to allow their agents to advertise it internally, and they set up this website to do that. And everyone's been doing that for ages, right? He tried to make like it sound like that's a new thing, when of course everyone advertises within the brokerage, right? You're allowed to do that. It's as soon as you go external, right? So, and EXP is 4 times the size of Compass, which is laughable. But anyway, I digress. Sorry. NAR basically just said they're going to keep Clear Cooperation, but they will allow a delayed marketing exemption listing. Right. So I'll read more on that and let everyone know. But basically, it sounds like we're going to be able to list a property off market, I think. And then can you guys hear me?
Yeah, yeah, you're good.
You can hear me, you just can't see me. Sorry. Okay. So list it off market and then, allows us to promote it internally within the brokerage at least. And then maybe do things like hold open houses and stuff like that. So again, so what does that mean to you, right? As the brokerage with the largest agent count, I think we have 95,000 agents. If you do an off-market listing and you're allowed to advertise that internally, you as an agent have theoretically have the most exposure in doing that, right? So we'll keep tuned on that and just kind of keep that. It has nothing to do, I guess, with buyer leads. I'm sorry, Matt, but that was news that I saw that should be interesting to everybody because that'll help you in your listing presentations for sure. So
Yeah, absolutely.
okay,
Yeah,
with
and
that, any
that's
questions here? Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
no, I was going to say, on top of that, I mean, that helps with getting listing leads too, because again, you're sharing how you're able to do things different and the reach that you have. And that makes a huge difference because a lot of agents are not doing that. They're literally just listing it on the MLS, putting a sign in the yard and hoping that it sells.
All right.
And they don't have the reach that EXP has.
Any questions? Carlo's got a question for you.
Sure.
Um, when it comes to, let's say, a floor time lead, and let's say, maybe they're out of state, let's say, whatever situation they have. Let's say they want to see properties, let's say they want to see some links in the area, blah, 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 whatever. Does that touch points for you go up in numbers, or does that kind of stay around the 1 per month, or maybe 2 per month?
Mark, can you expand on that question? I heard most of it, but it was
Yeah,
not
well,
very loud.
closer. Sorry. We'll get the wireless mics next time.
Okay.
So my question was, for example, if you had like a walk-in lead, and let's say it was a buyer lead, let's say they were out of state, maybe they want to look at some listings down the line, let's say they want to learn the area, they want links on this and that, whatever. Does the touch points for you, does that go up in numbers? Does that, go up from 12? Or does that stay around the 1 to 2 per month range?
Yeah, no. So when I talk about touch points, that's for leads who, they're in your database and they may be looking to buy or sell in the next 6 months, could be a year down the road, right? So it's a minimum of 12 touch points. But for people who are actively looking, whether they're local or they're in another state, yeah, those touch points are definitely going to go up because I'm going to go out to homes and I'm going to record walkthrough videos for them. I'm going to send it to them. That's a touch point. So minimum of 12 touch points per year, just in general for all of your contacts. And then for those who are hot leads, that should significantly go up. So it depends on the client and what they're looking for and how quick they're looking to either buy or sell. But yeah, those touch points definitely go up.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, just I'll add too. So if you didn't listen to the Monday call yesterday, the Kyle Whistle's call, it was really good because it was about listings, first of all. So you'd think it'd be unrelated, but a lot of those guys on there, the higher performing agents, they have switched to doing a short video, right? Instead of sending an email or even a text or in addition to those, they're recording short videos of themselves as a touch point, right? Just basically, instead of sending an email, just have a video embedded in your email of you checking in or whatever the dialogue is that Matt talked about. That's appropriate. And they cited all statistics and stuff. And apparently when you do video, I mean, everyone likes video, right? It's visual and textual audio content. But it was something crazy, like some crazy conversion number, right? If somebody sees that as opposed to just a text or, a textual sort of message, like 3 or 4x or something like that. So And I don't do that at all. So I'm going to learn, me personally, how to do that, uh, and like how to embed that. It looks really easy. And then some are going as far as to basically set up like a landing page that they send to their client, where they all of those messages are recorded, right? So the client can go back and say, "Oh, what did Mark tell me back Tuesday?" and go in there and watch it again. And then you have like analyticals on all of that stuff, right? Like which videos they watched, how long they watched it, how many times they came back to it. Um, Again, that's, if you have all the time in the world, you can do everything, right? But I just thought that that was, kind of a helpful nugget, from yesterday at least.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you choose to do those videos on your phone, just keep them to under a minute. I've noticed that because I do that on occasion. I don't do it really as often as I should because there are a lot of benefits to it. But some phones, for whatever reason, if it's over a minute, I can't send it to them. Under a minute, I can send it to pretty much everybody.
Yeah, I actually got converted via video. So like I posted a referral in the EXP referral group for a buddy of mine in California who was going to buy a house in San Jose. And you get like 6,000 responses on Workplace, or you get them people, the agents texting you, emailing you, and I can't deal with all that. So one guy actually just sent me a 30-second video. He said, "Hey," he's in his living room with his kids yelling behind him. He said, "Hey, I'd be happy to help. Here's my team. Here's what I do." And that actually converted me to give him the referral, and it closed like 60 days later. So those little videos work even, in our world, like amongst agents. So I can imagine it also works with clients.
Yeah, that's great. And that's the other thing too, right? With EXP, it's finding out where your feeder markets are. So we're talking about lead generation, right? This is a free lead generation strategy here. Here's a bonus one, right? You go on to EXP and you find out who the top agents are in the feeder states that, people are coming down to Sarasota, and you start making those connections, and there you go. Do a video. Instead of just sending a text message, just share who you are, what you're doing, what's great about this area, and that you would love to connect. That's a great way to generate some leads.
I had one other question based on your presentation. You ever done a drop by and it was new owners at the house and it's like a gut
I
punch. You
haven't.
found out they left and didn't use you or something.
Yeah, luckily that hasn't happened, but I have heard of it happening. And yeah, you just kind of have to flip the script at that point, right? You're like, oh, that's right. I totally forgot. They sold last year, or they moved on. But then you provide whatever gift that you're gonna give to the new owners.
Yeah, but I will say it is gut wrenching when your prior clients, you like go back and they sold the place without you or something like that. That is a terrible feeling, and you know, it makes you really kind of wonder what you didn't do, or obviously you do like a self-reflection there, and you can't always do that. Sometimes it's just random things, but yeah.
Yeah, it happens. But again, the best way to prevent that from happening is to stay on top of mind, provide value.
Yeah. And use your KB Core or Chime if you still, whatever your CRM is, right? To do that, automate that stuff for you.
Yeah, that's what I use. It's all set up automatically, like the birthday post. I didn't even know it was his birthday. So,
Yeah.
but it works.
And we should
Oh,
probably at
and
some point
speaking
go
of that,
into we should probably at some point go into a more technical how to actually do that, right? In KV Core, how to set up a drip campaign and stuff. So
yep, yeah, we'll definitely we'll do a training on that. But I was gonna say, so I've always had this question. Well, how did you get their birthdays? Obviously, you can ask them. All right. The other way that I did it is anytime I had a closing, I asked the title company, "Hey, can you give me the day and month of their birthday? I don't need to know the year," and I would get that information from them.
Current agents ask for it too all the time.
hey, you said insurance agents ask for it all the time as well. So
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, you can get all that information if you want. I mean, and that's about building relationships, right? So, if you have a relationship with the insurance agent or you have a relationship with the title company, they're more likely to give you that information than you not having that relationship with them. Or at least, even if you don't have the relationship, and it's somebody else's title company, you're going through a transaction, but like you're really on your stuff and like you're reaching out to them and you're talking, a lot of times they'll still give you that information.
I think that's it from here, Matt.
Good. All right. Well, guys, thank you. Appreciate those of you that went to the office. I apologize. I am not there. I am, after this, I'm on my way to get a new car battery because that's what happened. Car battery just finally decided to go kaput. Um, but I look forward to seeing you guys on Friday for Mark's training, which will be.
I'm not going to be here on Friday, so it'll be nothing.
Oh, you're not. Where are you going to be?
I'm going to be in Tuscaloosa. It's family weekend for my daughter.
Okay. All right. So we're going to skip this Friday.
Yeah.
But we'll continue to post the mastermind Zooms, and then I'll have another training on next Tuesday. You know, just continue to do this week after week, guys. So appreciate you showing up, and let me know if you have any questions.
I may change my mind and do one. We'll see. I'll look at my calendar, just do it remotely from there. So
Yeah, absolutely.
and speaking of which, you say that your car is not working right now, but let's see your background. Are you like on a beach right now in in
Oh, should I?
In Cancun or something right now?
How do I check?
That's all right. That's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
All right.
I'm
Thanks,
here.
Matt. That was
Jackson's
good.
next to me.
That was good. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk soon.